literally really, really nervous about this. So, but we are live streamed. It's still setting up on my one screen, but it says that we are live on the other screen. I'm looking to see. Oh, okay. I guess we're live.
Yeah, I just got the notification too. What's the YouTube so I can pull up the chat or whatever?
Uh, okay. Can you still hear me? Because I had to mute YouTube.
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay. It's under the Life Group podcast. Um, Let me see if what if I send you the link? It's there, and I'll send it to the guys over there.
All right, cool. I just found it.
To live YouTube link. So yeah, apologies for the delay here. Just like I said, it's been a while since I last did this on YouTube. So just bear with us while we try to get this stuff figured out. Yeah, I've been meaning to do more stuff on YouTube, but I don't know. Just you get, you know what it is, James, you just get used to doing things a certain way. So I
Yep.
just been doing it mostly out of the Baseball Life Facebook group, but let's see. Ah, and there's the feed. I see it. Okay. All right. So not we'll see what happens. But anyway, this is I don't even know what year is this? What year? What 2024? So we started this league in 2002. This is what the 23rd annual, is it 23? Right? 22,
Uh,
23.
I
It's a
think
lot.
it's technically 23. Yeah.
It's 23. The Michael Jordan rules of no, this is the 23rd annual Mardi Gras Madness fantasy baseball draft. It's something I do for my people in that. So, James, thank you so much for joining. I know this is not your league, but I believe you have pretty good baseball acumen to go toe to toe here. So,
I
with
mean, you've
that
seen
be,
my teams, so
well, not last year. Last year was, yeah, you
uh,
know what? I'm going to ask you about that. I'm going to ask you about that when we go live. So, I'm going to hit the record button just a minute. You know what? Clear my throat a little bit. Mm. Ah, there you go. Are you ready, man?
yeah, I'm all good.
All right, let's go. Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Total Basis Podcast, and I am your host, Felipe. And with me is my guest, James Handaboat. James, how you doing today, bud?
Doing good. Was looking forward to opening day tomorrow for the Mets. My team, but we're a little delayed, but trying to get into the baseball mood, and this is very excited to talk about fantasy today, even though it's not my league, but we're here, and if anything, it helps. I have an outside opinion, so be very critical.
Well, if you guys don't know, James was in he's in the Baseball Life League. That's the baseball fantasy baseball league that we do for our Facebook group, the Baseball Life Fantasy. Excuse me, the Baseball Life Facebook group. Go check us out over there. We talk baseball, and yeah, James in 2022 tied my record for most wins in a regular season, and he followed that up by finishing in the bottom fourth. And I got to ask you, what happened? What went
I
wrong?
don't
What
know,
did
man.
the better question is, what did you learn last year that you're taking with you this year?
I learned last year that luck is a big component. A big component in fantasy. I mean, the year before, I got a little lucky in certain plays that I made, having not a lot of injuries, being able to pick up some big name injured players, like, stash them for later in the year. But, you know, things happen. Last year didn't pan out, but, looking to win this year, though, with our redraft. So we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, we start fresh in that other league. So no keepers. We are keeping three players into the 2025 season. So I'm pretty sure you're excited about your keeper prospects for next season, I'm assuming.
yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Probably drafted prospects a little late in our draft, but there was a lot of things there, so
Hey,
I think we're all right. I got some good ones.
hey, man, take it from me, man. Sometimes these prospects are overrated as hell. I know that our guy Henry got both Jackson Holiday and Paul Skeens, which were obviously very highly rated prospects. But and I think Angel pointed it out in our show in our episode for the Baseball Life group, fantasy baseball draft. Those are two former number one prospects, number one picks overall, Jackson Holiday and Paul Skeens. And I go, yeah, I did the same thing too in this league when I had both Casey Mize and Royce Lewis. I thought I was the slickest mofo ever, and I pulled the rug from underneath these other guys. And well, we know that Casey Mize is not going to make it. He's not going to win any Cy Young awards anytime soon. And Royce Lewis is, clawing his way back into prominence. So good for him at least. So, but he came up as a shortstop, possibly a center fielder, and now he's playing third base. So,
Yep, and I picked him up in our league as well, so I'm excited.
well, let's see who picks up Royce Lewis in this league. So I see the commissioner is on board, John E, who's been asking, "Hey, where's the YouTube link?" There it is. Some person named Sly is on.
That's
So,
me.
oh, that's you.
I am
Hey,
Sly for everybody that's
oh,
watching.
Sly Cooper.
Yes,
So,
that's my. I was a former esports player, so I have my little esports YouTube or my videos on there and stuff. So I'll be chatting from that YouTube account.
So funny that you mentioned that because I finally let the league know because we did our keeper show not too long ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I did it with Steve Carey. And I had to I finally explained to him where my team nickname is. As you'll see, I am Team Felipe, and I'm part of the Black Hole Army. The Black Hole Army is the villainous army in the Game Boy Advance hit Advance Wars 2, or actually just Advance Wars, sorry. But so yeah, that's where my name comes from. So we both have video game monikers here tonight in one way or another. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one who will understand some video game references. Although I think there's a stretch between where the PS3 came out and up until the Nintendo Switch where I'm just blind. I didn't get any video games, and if it wasn't for my wife getting me a Nintendo Switch, I would not even look at modern video games because I would still be playing with my old PS2 and my Xbox and my GameCube. So at any rate, but I'm glad that Sly Cooper's spirit is. Has there been any new Sly Cooper games?
No, I think the last one was it was Sly. I think it was like yeah, Sly 3 was like one of the last ones that was like years ago. They were going to do a TV show and then that didn't pan out, but maybe one day.
Well, let's get started then. I mean, since John is on, I'm pretty sure he wants us to talk about his team in a glowing fashion. We'll see about that. John made a bunch of trades last year to get a bunch of early round draft picks. So we'll see if he succeeded, but he does get the number one pick overall, and he gets Mike Trout over Cody Bellinger, over Evan Phillips, over Manny Machado, over Pablo Lopez, over Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Uh, is was that the right pick to make there, James, or would you have preferred someone else in that spot at the number one hole?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it is a keepers league, so I'm sure like, what was available there was a little bit on the more slim side for a first round. I don't think it's a bad pick. I could see it. I don't have any issues with that one, I don't think.
Yeah, well, Johnny says I work hard for this year. All right, we'll see about that. And Robert says, yeah, but his team's still gonna suck. Okay, so friendly banter. They're both from Texas. It's all good as long as their guns stay in their pockets, right? Okay, yeehaw. I went with Bo Bichette. Well, before I go any further, any other pick in the top five that you like there, that you see there in front of you, top five pick?
I think one interesting one to me is Evan Phillips. I wonder like what the
Um,
relief market was like, but I mean he's not a bad pick at all. I mean he believe he's like lined up for like one of the main roles there right now, right? I mean,
yes, yes.
so it is
Uh,
the Dodgers, so they're gonna be winning a lot
well,
with
well,
that
I'm
team that they have.
I'm glad you mentioned Austin's team. That is, he's a Rocket City Trash Pandas. I think you know who Austin is, right?
Yeah, of course.
Austin Spiro. Yeah, he didn't make the draft, so he's an auto pick. That's why he's kind of highlighted there. And this guy named Tim C, Beer Belly Mashers, he's from Kansas City. He also did not make the draft, and he will be picking auto the entire way. And the
Got it.
only other person who does auto is Melvin, but that's until later. So we got a ways to go. Yeah, plenty of relief pitchers, you know, but as you know, James, injuries, bad performances, it could be a very volatile position to be in. So, the closer of any team. So, but we'll see how these other teams did with their closers. Me, I picked Bo Bichette. He was on my team last year. I've been keeping him for years and years and years. And this year I decided to just let him go into the wild. And my keepers were Jordan Alvarez and Aaron Judge as my hitters. And I kept three pitchers. And that was Tyler Glasnow, George Kirby, and oh God, I forgot already. Zach Gallen, so the Triple G guys. Um,
Okay.
yeah, like, anybody with the letter with the letter G on their name, I was going to keep this year, and but that meant I had to give up on Bo Bichette, which was really hard to do. I also had Manny Machado last year, and I drafted Pablo Lopez around this time last year as well, but I dropped him like midway through the season because I was in desperate need for pitching, and for some reason I had it in my thick head that Pablo Lopez was not that good, and boy was I wrong about that.
Yeah.
That ended up being my Achilles heel of the pitching staffs. But Bo Bichette just wanted to play it safe, fill up my hitting lineup because I had three pitchers. But looking back, maybe I should have gone with Terry Scuball. What would you have done in that sixth spot?
I mean, for Yamamoto, yeah. I mean, it's I have to ask, is it a Dodgers fan?
No, balls out, Mike. He is an Angels fan.
Interesting. Okay, went
Yeah.
across town for the first pick over Tariq Skubal, but I don't know. I mean,
Well, what about
Yamamoto's look.
Bobichette though? Bobichette though. I was asking about Bobichette. Should I
Oh,
have
about
done?
Boba Fett? Oh, you said six, so I was looking at the sixth one. But
I am dyslexic. Sorry, I was at the number seven spot. My bad. Sorry to
got
confuse
it.
you.
Hey, I don't blame you at all. Boba Fett is a solid all-around player, especially in a keeper league, especially since you didn't keep him and you probably wanted him back on your team again. So I don't blame you for that. But, shortstop is known to be pretty rough picked the position to pick for, especially in a keeper league where like guys like like Lindor are like not really there around this
Hmm.
time usually, especially in a keeper league. So I probably would have gone for Bichette as well, or I'm assuming funny enough Mookie Betts joining the shortstop position now after depending on how your positions work. For eligibility, in about 5 games, he'll probably be on shortstop, but I'm sure he was kept. But yeah, Boba is a pretty strong pick here, especially with the people that I see going below him. Like, yeah, I don't, I think it's a strong pick.
Yeah, and young guy, and he should be going into his prime years. At least I hope he does. I hope we didn't see the best of Bichette. I'm still kind of waiting for that big time year from him. It's still a better pick than Kyle Schwarber. The only, like I said, the only ones I would have considered were either maybe even Freddie Peralta, but Ty Skubal was the only other guy, and I just been kicking myself like, should I have gone with a four-man rotation of well, as Robert E is saying, the Goober squad with Glass now, George Kirby, and Zach Gallen, and then you add Terry Skubal. That's a pretty formidable starting rotation in a points league. But we shall see. Sometimes, I make fun of people with their homer picks. Either these are players that are on your favorite team, on your favorite real team, or these are former players on your favorite team. Hell, even picking the rivals, I consider that a homer pick. Or you could be like me and you just get attached to these players like, Christian Yelich, Bo Bichette, guys that are on your fantasy team and you're you can't help but draft them. So there's more than so yeah, I've created a new definition for a homer pick. So this is the champion, Shane Clark. He was on auto draft last year, and the auto draft last year picked like all the closers that he could handle. And I looked at his roster a few more times just to double check that I wasn't like going crazy. And he basically won with like Zach Eflin as his best starting pitcher, and maybe
Wow.
one more starting pitcher, and it was just nothing but closers and closers. And I'm afraid that he may have unlocked Pandora's box here and made it okay for it just to rely on closers in a points league. What do you think? Is that the new strategy? Did he unlock something here, James?
Yeah,
Is
I
he?
mean, funny enough, that's actually I didn't go like full closers for my team, but in 2022 when I had that really good season, like down the stretch, because of like injuries and such, that was actually the first year that I believe our league went to innings pitched counting for a stat. Um, so obviously you're like, oh, innings pitched, I want like a bunch of starters, right? But then what happens is, you get guys like, like you get the teams like 4 man in the rotation that you're like swapping in after all your aces just pitched a couple days ago, and
Mhm.
sometimes you pick up like a Yenny or Cano or something that's maybe he's not really getting you saves or holds or whatever, but he's getting you consistent innings, he's boosting your stats, he's pitching multiple times a week. So if you can make it work where you get a couple of guys that pitch a few times a week, especially if they're getting you those maybe like helping the K per nine. Yeah, I think it could be a legitimate strategy. You get like a few like really strong starters, and then the rest you fill with relief pitchers. That's why I like
Yeah.
guys like Garrett Whitlock, who have like dual eligibility and stuff. could really
Well, for
manipulate some rosters.
in this league, we just use seven pitchers, regardless of, SP
Okay.
or RP. And it's a points league, so obviously saves are worth 10 points, but you get 0 points for holds. That's been a point of contention for years now. Since I was like, I think I might have been still a teenager when I was arguing like we should add holds. And I think we did have holds for a little bit, but nobody liked them, so we took them away. And now, I mean, like, but you mentioned, you were alluding to the fact that starting pitching is just getting weaker and weaker. And I looked at this over with my friend Harry a few episodes ago too, how bad pitching was last year, and it was a total train wreck. These new rules are just murdering these pitchers. Like the strikeouts are still there, interestingly enough, but everything else,
Yeah.
the ERA, home runs given up, and all of that stuff that pitchers were dominating the last 5 or 7 years or so. The hitters have taken over, and that's with like batting average is still staying steady. I think maybe slugging and on base went up because of it, and stolen bases definitely went up. But pitching it was this week. I don't know if you. I mean, I know you and I we play in a semi-weekly league, but I know you must have felt that. I think you may have alluded to the fact that you got to look for four more starting pitchers, and sometimes you got to go on the waiver wire, and there's no one there. Did you struggle finding just spot starters from period
Yeah.
to period last year?
C- Yeah, I mean, my main issue was, especially since we were a keepers league, I think that was, it was, especially down the stretch, Grayson Rodriguez came up last year. He was a prospect I had forever, but, he was getting blasted a lot of the time
Mm,
he came up. And, it's one of those guys, like, he could just be amazing at any moment. So I wound up having a bunch of these guys in the team I was just holding on to, like, maybe they'll do something. And then it just, it doesn't really, work out. So, especially in a league where, like you just said, I didn't know you had just pitchers slots.
yeah,
I couldn't blame someone for going for a strat like that. And something a lot of people don't think about too nowadays, beyond like pitching stats, like just being down in general over the last few years with just hitting going up, but yeah, pitchers aren't pitching as long either. Right. It's a
right.
lot of pitchers are out five, maybe you get 6 innings out of a lot of these guys, but you know, what's the difference between having a couple guys that go 5 innings versus like having a couple closers that pitch 2 to 3 times a week? It's you can make a case for it either way. I mean, I barely get you might get barely get more innings out of a starter that pitches once a week for five, maybe 6 innings versus a couple closers.
Johnny has some things to say about his team. He says, I felt that needed a quality starting pitcher and two position players. He got Christian Walker, Mike Trout, and he paired him up with Tyreek Skubal. So, and he felt like pitching was going to come by later. I disagree. I feel like if there's a certain dead zone. I can't explain where it is. It just, it's kind of a feel thing. When I say I can't explain it, I don't have it memorized, but there is a dead zone. When you're drafting these pitchers, when you realize, oh crap, I'm too late, and you get stuck with like the Kyle Gibsons and the Sonny Grays of the world. Which Sonny Gray isn't that bad, but he's a Cardinal now, so it's kind of shaky as to. What do you think of a Sonny Gray this upcoming season?
I mean, as long as he's not on the Yankees, I have hope for him. But like it's it's rough. I passed on him this year. I don't remember who I picked over him, but it was between him and somebody else, and I was just like, yeah, you know what? Let's someone else pick Sonny Gray. But he's a solid pitcher. I
Yeah,
think of
right.
him and just like you need like a guy who's going to go out and give you expectable results where not too much variance.
Robert says that our closers peaked for us a few years ago. Now there's a select group. Otherwise, it's risky. I disagree. I mean, yeah, health is always going to be an issue, but I felt like there was about 17 closers I would have been able to consider this upcoming season across all drafts that I took part of this year. But again, the risky part comes where, all of a sudden there's an elbow injury, there's a lat injury, there's an arm injury, there's a shoulder, there's a finger, and it adds up. And guys are now scrambling. I know yours truly is scrambling. I have Paul Sewald in all three of my leagues after hyping him up. And then thankfully it's not his arm, but damn, I did not need that to happen to him with the
Yeah.
lat injury.
And I have
Uh,
Devin Williams.
oh no,
Literally
yeah.
picked him, and then 5 minutes after my pick, the injury news came out. So yeah, it's a lot of luck, but it's okay. I think I doubled it up. I wound up going like Craig Kimbrell, I can't even remember. The draft was so long. I feel like I picked it like 2 weeks ago, but I wound up getting like three other or two to three other closers or something crazy like that.
Johnny says, considering that too many teams are going to a six-man rotation, I'll take the position players. And that was my stance for a long time. But man, I saw how thin starting pitcher was as the later you go on in the drafts and how thin it was on the waiver wire across all leagues, across all platforms. I know you and I, we play in a head-to-head categories league. There's a head-to-head points league, smaller roster sizes, as you saw from the spreadsheet I sent you. We have 30 players in our league. There's 22 in this league, so plenty of guys on waiver wire, and still pitching was just impossible to come by. It was so bad. I was counting on prospects and minor league players, and the Bobby Millers and Tyner Bibees of the world. You know, it's good to be able to have that option. But as you know, James, I mean, pitching in general is a hard thing to master, whether it's in your first year or in your seventh year, right? I mean, you used to be a pitcher, so you would appreciate, being a young guy learning the craft of pitching, right?
Yeah, I it's become a very tough position. I mean, even just besides like, it's hard to come by pitchers in these keeper leagues, but I mean, just the sheer amount of injuries that we're seeing now, even in the young guys, like I feel like Dustin May has been out more than he's played over the last like 5 years or whatever. And like, Bueller's hurt all the time. Like,
Hmm.
there's guys like Kershaw. But for me, it's like as soon as I see Charlie Morton among the top of the available starting pitchers, I know I fucked up if I didn't pick enough starting pitchers by then. But there's I think people get nervous when the pitching starts to thin out. But if you think about it, well enough, you get certain guys for certain stats. I know I just made fun of him, but Charlie Morton, you pick him up for the Ks, pick someone else
Absolutely.
up for the innings. You can make a lot with nothing.
That's true, but it's different in a points league because you need that overall production. So yeah, you get the strikeouts, but from Charlie Morton, you might get wins too because he plays on a really good team, 10 points per win. In the innings, if you're okay with 5 innings and that's it, if you're lucky, you can get that because you need to get the win, you need the 5 innings, right? So but the quality start points, bonus points are not going to be there. Definitely not the complete games without a Charlie Morton. But you have a case to make there because of the fact that the strikeouts probably make up for any shortcomings or any short stints from start to start.
Yeah.
So instead of like calling out every single player in each round, I try to do something. I'm trying to do something different here. Kind of highlight certain players. And the reason I was actually considering getting Evan Carter in the first round before I changed my mind. And that same day, the day of the draft, I was listening to one of the Fangraphs podcasts, Sleepers on the Bus with what the hell's his name? Crap, I forgot already. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is they were talking about Evan Carter having all these red flags. He's a young guy, unproven, uh, you know, all the things that you worry about prospects. But the thing that worried me the most was his StatCast numbers are not that good. He doesn't hit the ball hard enough, and that kind of freaked me out. I'm like, whoa, I've been getting Evan Carter in my other two leagues, but do I really want to? Because I thought he was a surefire thing this year. Now I'm kind of hesitant, and I missed out. So my friend Carey gets him instead. Thoughts on Evan Carter coming into this 2024 season?
I mean, I wasn't super high on him. I mean, I saw him come up in our draft too, but it's hard to tell without seeing like the exact keepers for certain teams. But I could see going a little taking a bit of a risk on certain guys that maybe you just personally feel really high on. But I mean, seeing like Michael Harris, for example, may go in the same round, like maybe it's a little tough, but you know, can't blame it. I could see that maybe there's a person, like you said, a little personal homer bias there, like feeling really high on someone. I mean, I had Beatty on my team 2 years in a row, and look where that's got me. So I can't really throw stones.
I keep warning you, Mets fans, don't get all the Mets players because it's not just the fact that you guys are fighting amongst each other because we have like what 5 Mets fans in that one league, and it's not just that you're all fighting amongst each other, but you're all reaching. So you guys have to reach because you're trying to outdo the other Mets fans, and that's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, Sean can get away with it, obviously, but the rest of you, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's
Well, I
just
only picked like one Met this year, so I get a
congratulations.
pass.
Good job.
Well,
Good
I
job.
picked up Alonso and then I picked up Kellenic at some point, so maybe you counted as two, but
I'm
uh,
counting on this too.
yeah.
Well, Evan Carter, they were talking about his advanced his Statcast number. I have it on the other screen on the Fangraphs page. I'm trying to as I look for it, and I try to see what the hell are they talking about. 89 mile per hour exit velocity. That's they all can't hit over 90, okay? The max EV is only at 107. I think they want to see anything above 110. But I don't know. These analytics people are the same people that will tell you, well, sample size is an important thing, but they'll have this stat called max exit velocity, which I get the premise of it. I just don't like using it because it's one. I believe it's just the one time, like the highest velocity you were able to hit, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Launch angle is at 9 degrees, so I guess that's a red flag. But the barrel rate is at 10.3%. My thing with barrel rate, James, and you tell me if I'm wrong, anything above 10%, I'll take. Is that a good way of seeing barrel rate, or is there a threshold that you're looking for? Do you even use barrel rate at this point?
I mean, I don't. Maybe I should use it more for fantasy. I tend to use it more what in a discussion, talking amongst friends about like certain players or anything. But I don't really use it in fantasy as much. But I'd say that's like respectable, especially in today's game where it's like all or nothing. I think it's a pretty respectable number.
It's double digits. Now, the one thing is that the expected stats like expected batting average, expected on base, expected slugging, those are all like below. But but again, you can argue, well, that's a small sample size. You didn't give it. There was no there was more peaks, not enough valleys. So he didn't get that benefit of, going up and down in a regular major league season. He just came out like gangbusters. So his expected data is gonna falter because of it. But these guys were saying that no, no, that it's there's something fluky about his game, and that is a recipe for disaster. But I would take the what was it, the 46.2% hard hit rate. I'm happy with that. And just to give you guys an idea what a 46.2 hard hit rate gives you, that puts you in the vicinity of Anthony Santander, Max Muncy, Lourdes Gurriel, veteran players. Bryce Harper at 46.8. Last I checked, he was pretty good. Seiya Suzuki, 48%. So I don't know what the problem is, but I mean,
Yeah.
these other guys are the experts, and I'm just a fan here. So anyway, but that brings us to another guy that I just saw on that Statcast leaderboard, Tristan Casas, who's my pick. And I don't mean to just focus on my players, although it is my show, so I get to do whatever I want. All right. But this was a point of contention with everybody because well, first and foremost, James, as you know, I try my darndest to get Tristan Casas in our league. I tried to get him in the other league, the other fantasy league that I'm in, and I was not gonna let him go in this league. So I had a chance to get Michael Harris. I needed a center fielder, but I refused to let go of Tristan Casas. So I grabbed on tight and I drafted him, and I went into the chat and I said, "Yes, I finally got him." And the response, especially from John E, was, "You can have him. Nobody cares. Who cares? Who?" I think I did hear some guy say, "Who the hell is Tristan Casas?" So and I asked, "Wait, are you telling me we're in a keeper league and you guys have never heard of Tristan Casas before, or what am I misinterpreting here?" And Johnny, I'll give him his props for chiming in and saying, "Hey, listen, man, it's not that we don't trust Tristan Casas. I'm sorry, it's not that we don't like or we don't know who Tristan Cassis is. We don't trust him." So, James, do you at least trust Tristan Cassis? What do you think?
I don't know. I think we saw a good bit from him, so far. I could see to trust him. I mean, I'm seeing, you know, uh, first base is a pretty open position, but there's not a lot of guys that you get there that aren't gonna hurt you super bad and like one stat versus another. So I think Cassis is pretty. He looks to be a pretty good all around player. He's at Boston, good hitters park and everything too. So it's like I think he could really succeed there, and you know he's gonna have a good prime spot in the lineup too, probably there. So I could see it. Even though it took you a minute and 9 seconds to pick him, so maybe you weren't dying that hard to get him, but
Well, keep in mind, I was babysitting on my own that night. Okay,
got it.
so it's kind of hard, but then I was considering like Royce Lewis and Michael Harris as well, and maybe Will Smith to get fulfill my catching. But yeah, I mean, knowing myself, there was no way I was gonna pick a catcher that early. But I really had to think about it because Yeah, Cole Reagans was around, Royce Lewis was around. Who else was around in the third round? Aaron Nola, I guess, to a lesser extent. But yeah, it was between those three guys. There's always like a list of two or three guys that you're considering. But Michael Harris would have filled out that center field position. He went to Kohler's team. He's a big Houston Astros fan, last I checked, and he got him. Then that was basically the best center fielder you can get in this draft. Other than that, it's a straight downhill. Like I didn't even bother with looking at center field for like a long, 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 long time. So,
Yeah.
but at first base, I mean, we'll take a look. Well, let's take a look now. Were any first baseman in the third round? Not that I can see. Maybe Luis Arias, but no, there's no way I'm getting Luis Arias over Tristan Cassis. What about
Yeah,
Melvin
Jose
picks Jose
Abreu
Abreu
is the next
for
one.
some ungodly reason. I don't know. Wait,
Yeah.
you actually like him?
No, I'm just saying like that was the next first baseman. I think that's a good pick. Oh, I don't know though. Now that I'm seeing, listen, I know I'm a homer. But, okay, this is not. I'm going off on the first base thing real quick, but I see Brandon Nimmo getting picked here. I'm gonna be
Auto?
honest.
Yeah,
Like I I think I would have picked Brandon Nimmo over Michael Harris. Personal opinion. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, but
sure.
and I think that might be a little early when some of these other guys are available down there, especially with some of the people that went after him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with the Tristan Cassis pick, especially since the next available thing was Jose Abreu.
And
Bro,
Spencer Steer was another guy I was considering, but that was too early. I think that was too early for him.
yeah,
He's a more of a safe floor guy than a top lift guy for me. Well, Kaz is, I mean, I just think the world of him. I really do. I had him for a minute last year, and I just think the world of him. And that's just, but look at me, I'm gushing over some guy I don't even know personally, but that's why I'm considering that like kind of a homer pick because it's a guy I've grown attached to, a guy that I've been paying attention to in his minor league career, and I want him and I got him. But and I was heartbroken when I couldn't get him in the other leagues. I'm just double checking to see if Nolan Jones had any first base eligibility in this league. So, but this thing is being stupid. Any other first baseman in the fifth and sixth rounds while we chat away? Let's see here. Not that I see in the fifth round. William Contreras might qualify at first
and
base,
Naylor. That's about it.
and that was my backup plan, Josh Naylor, which I'm done with backup plans. I wanted the primary guy. So if Cass wasn't going to be there, then I would have waited around the sixth round for Josh Naylor. But I know that Robert also likes him, so that would have been that would have been interesting to see who would have gotten to him first. Nolan Jones does not qualify at first base at the CBS Sports website, so that's where we're having. That's the league that's the website that's running our league this year, or
Got it.
been running the league since like its inception in 2002. Um, Before we move on to the third round, and I promise we'll go quicker than this. Did you like any picks after the Tristan Cassis selection?
Yeah, I like, the Royce Lewis pick. I think he's coming back this year, he's playing at third base, tough position too. I mean, for me, it's like shortstop, third base. Those are and center field are probably or and catcher, obviously, but those are like the hardest positions to really draft for if you don't have a keeper for that. So, I think he could have a pretty good year. So I think it's a good pick, especially after guys like, I like Ketel Marte, but I've had my issues with him being a fantasy owner of his over the years.
Same, yeah, same.
I probably would have gone Royce Lewis before that. I mean, but different position. But yeah, I think Royce Lewis is probably a really good pick here. But I see we have a comment asking what we think about Nimmo. I definitely would have picked him over Michael Harris for sure. I know listen. I know it might seem as a homer. I'm a Met fan, but I also get to see him more than anyone else. I will say I think this year, I mean, I'm sure you drafted before the Mets signed JD Martinez the other day,
Yeah, we
but
did, yeah.
you know, a guy like Nimmo who just gets on base all the time, batting in front of Lindor, Alonso, JD Martinez, Alvarez, like you're especially in a points league. I don't know. I mean, I know you're going to get like the steals with Harris, but Nimmo's been working in the offseason every year on getting better at stealing bases. He
Hey,
did it last
hold
year.
on now. Oh, I see. Okay, never. I thought you were saying he's been working in the offseason. Hold on. Michael Harris is a pretty hard worker himself.
Yeah, no, I just mean like Nemo's one of those guys. Like I need to be good at every part of the game. He's been
Yeah.
getting better every year with the running on the bases and everything. He scores a lot. He's been stealing more. I would have picked him over Harris, my personal opinion, especially since Nemo went 2 rounds later.
I don't
But
know. Yeah, Johnny's saying that he Harris was a reach. I disagree. I mean, center field is weak as hell. There's
yeah,
really
but
no center
Nemo
fielders.
going 2 rounds later, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I see what you're saying. I really do. But okay, let's see. What's the projected here? 437 and a half, according to CBS for Michael Harris. Where did Nemo go? Here?
Fifth round, fourth
Okay.
round.
Oh, wow. 440. Maybe you might have convinced me. But he did go to the auto team. So who knows if anybody else was interested in Brandon Nimmo, as one of the auto teams got him. Who's the other
Yeah,
center fielder here? Nobody in the fifth round.
Cedric Mullins right there.
Yeah. And I see, I were that if I was worried about center field, then I would have gotten Michael Harris just to avoid getting Cedric Mullins. But once Harris was gone, I was done with center field until later in the draft. Like I could wait because everybody
Yeah,
else near you'll see. Anyway, some more comments. Carter in round two. Nope, it's a keeper league. How is he not going in round two? I don't get it. But anyway, but maybe Robert's an Astros fan. I don't know. Maybe he has an anti-Rangers bias. We'll see. I thought Torres was a reach too. I'm not high on him, but yeah, that goes to Robert E's team. That's what Johnny is saying. Johnny's having a hell of a draft, though. I don't know, James. You tell me, Ketel Marte or Gleyber Torres? Who would you rather have at second base?
I know I said I didn't really like Ketel Marte that much, but I definitely pick him over Glaber. I'm going to be
Now, is that
honest.
your Mets anti-Yankee bias or what?
No, I'm just not really big on Glaber at all. And it's not even if I wasn't a Met fan, I have no problem with the Yankees. I don't. I think that other than the Subway Series, if you're not in the Subway Series, the rivalry doesn't make sense. So like I don't know. I would have taken Ketel over Glaber, which did happen here. Ketel went first, so but I'm definitely higher on Ketel.
I forgot that Johnny. I thought he was an Astros fan, but Johnny says he's a Red Sox fan, and he didn't see anything on the Tristan Casas. The guy hit 24 home runs in his first full season in the big leagues. Like, what more do you want from a rookie or a second-year player? I don't get these people. You can't be satisfied. Was he a rookie last year? Was he considered? Yeah, he only had 76 at bats in 2022. Last year was
Yeah.
his rookie season and his first full season. Marvelous. He was able to keep his walks and strikeouts in check, which is really hard for a veteran player, much less a rookie.
Yeah, and they had a kind of a rough go last year, the Red Sox. So it's not even like he had like a ton of protection or anything. Like
Exactly.
so,
Eh,
I could see I like the pick there, I would say, if you really needed
Eight,
that first base.
I did. 856 ops. I mean, gentlemen, come on. And it's a keeper league. Anyway, Melvin's on the chat. I didn't see that Melvin was in the chat. He's saying that too much Bobby Dahlbeck in him. He's saying that Tristan Cassis has too much Bobby Dahlbeck. Who are you people? Who are you? Bobby Dahlbeck? That's
Oh
the
my
thing.
God.
There's really nobody in Boston because he's a left-handed hitter, right? Cassis is. So I worry about the platoon. But Bobby Dahlbeck is not going to overtake. And then the other guy I heard was CJ Crone. I think that was the other guy who was on Boston as a potential first baseman. These guys are not going to take at bats away from Tristan Cassis.
Yeah. It's a good pick.
Will Smith in the second round. Yeah, well, I like Will Smith. I love Will Smith. But I was gonna wait on catcher this year. Were you waiting on catcher this year, or were you trying to get those top three guys, top four guys there?
Yeah, so for me, I always kind of see how long I could wait until I start drafting catcher, and I just hope that it's going to be like right before my pick so that I could like just pick the second best guy. Because the first person who picks catcher is always going to go Will Smith, and then you're just like, okay, well, I could get Rio Muto here, right? And then if you don't, I usually just wait because the drop off in caliber there is usually quite high. So I don't even remember who I got this year, but I missed out on the wave of catchers that got picked. So usually I wait a little bit, but we're a two catcher league, so I guess it's a little bit more important for us in our league. But
I'm ha- I'm
you
glad with
know,
my catchers, so. But I did miss out on
yeah,
Wilson Contreras this year, and I was really bummed out about that. Johnny's having himself a really good draft so far. He's taking advantage of those early round picks that he got last year. Too often we do see teams fudge those up, though. I know that in my basketball league, there was this one guy, Bob, who got a bunch of early round draft picks, and he finished in second to last place this year. And I had a theory about that, but so far, Johnny's having a good draft. I mean, he's filling out his position players, like he said. So, Melvin of the Baseball Cosmos podcast, I think Abreu is going to have a rebound year. And I say this because he gave me an interview. As you know, James, or you may or may not know, but Baseball Cosmos is now not certified. What's the other word? They can go to any ballpark in this country and go into locker rooms and interview players. Melvin, I guess he interviewed Jeff Nelson. He's interviewed a couple of players from the winter leagues as well. So he has that kind of power. So maybe Melvin knows something that we don't know about Jose Abreu this year.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My thing with Abreu is kind of old now. So I always have trouble, especially. I mean, I guess it's you have your keepers already, but he's a solid player. Can't blame you for picking him at the round you got him. So maybe.
Let's move on to the third round. Then there it is. Aaron Nola. So he pairs up Terry Scuba with Aaron Nola, and I don't remember who his other keepers were, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty solid. Uh, Robert, the commissioner, gets Heimer Candelario. I thought that was way too soon, but I he must really like him, so we'll give him that. I'm not. Austin goes with Logan Webb. Bobby Miller goes to Kohler. I think that was. I don't know about the Bobby Miller pick, man, but I guess he's better than you, Darvish, and I'm not trusting Justin Steele this year. I never liked Merrill Kelly. Um, and then Johnny's. I mean, you see his name just pop up every time. The Aaron Nola. Johnny also got Adolis Garcia. Johnny also got Merrill Kelly. Um, he's filling out his lineup, isn't he?
Yeah,
That roster's getting filled out real good. Okay.
I would say I'm not big on Nola anymore though. I don't think last year was a fluke. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, those he's giving up on the fastball, throwing more breaking pitches, more curveballs. And that's just the state of baseball that we're in right now, where pitchers are being told, "Hey, throw your best pitch like as much as you can." And I
Yeah,
don't know. Have you ever threw a curveball? And if you did, how confident were you in throwing it? Let's say at about a 45% clip.
that's actually what I did for the most part. So I threw a little bit slower than some of the other guys. So I had like that 3/4 angle, very low, almost sidearm. So had like that like big ass slurve. So I threw that most of the time. You're not really gonna look too good coming out after a guy throwing 90 if you're throwing 83 fastballs. So you got to mix it up a little bit. But I don't know. Once I look at this pick though a little bit more, and I realize some of the guys that went after, that's probably the highest ceiling you're going to get at that pick with everyone else that went there. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
high on him, but he does have, he was, in Cy Young contention in years past, so could
Yep.
do something.
And like I always say on this podcast, sometimes older is better at starting pitching. Sometimes. Melvin says Heimer Candelario is lucky Noelvi Marte got suspended because he was not going to see a lot of action. I disagree. They gave him that contract to be there for a reason, and he was going to get as much playing time as possible, despite the fact that they had all those young players coming up or solidifying roster spots this upcoming season. I don't know. I think he would have been good either way, but yeah, Noelvi Marte that definitely opens up more playing time than anticipated. Um, I got Xander Bogaerts, so shame on me. I got two shortstops, but I'm banking on the idea that Xander Bogaerts will eventually be my second baseman, which means that I have a big hole at second base, but I couldn't pass him up. I've been questioning myself, was this the right thing to do? Like I've already questioned myself, should I have gotten Tariq Skubal over Bo Bichette? Should I have gotten Xander Bogaerts, or was that the right thing to do? Was get Xander Bogaerts over, I don't know, Nico Horner and really solidify second base and not have to worry about Xander Bogart becoming eligible eventually. Whereas we go into the fourth round, I missed out on Grayson Rodriguez. I missed out on Dylan Cease, Joe Ryan, Brandon Nimmo. So I don't know. What do you think, Xander Bogaerts? Was that the right thing to do over some of these other players that were selected afterwards?
Um, I mean, if I think it might have been a little overreach to bank on the second base, but I mean, it's still a good pick. I'm a big Bogarts guy. Also, I've had him for a few years. Especially in a points league, he gets you a lot of numbers. I don't think it's a bad pick in any way. I mean, seeing some of the guys that went after, maybe you'd second guess yourself, but it's not a horrible pick in my eyes. So if you had your vision, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, the vision was that I was just adapting basically I was just getting what these guys were giving me, right? You guys want to give me Xander Bogaerts in the third round when I could have easily gotten him in the first or second round, or I could have seen him go in the first and second round. I'll take it. I'll take a first and second round talent in a five keeper team league like that in the third round. No hesitation, no question about it. Johnny says that I used to throw breaking pitches 33% of the time, and I threw fastball at numerous seams, numerous angles 60% of the time. Wait, I'm missing a number. So what was he doing 7% of the time? Knuckleballs?
Uh,
Makes you think. Let's move on. Fourth round. Let's see here. Grayson Rodriguez. That one crushed me. But at this point of the draft, James, I had a strategy. Now you talk about vision here. I had a strategy, and the strategy was I wanted f four pitchers. I wanted at least two out of these four pitchers: Grayson Rodriguez, Joe Ryan, Zach Eflin, and Bryce Miller. So I missed out on Rodriguez already, and the auto team picked Joe Ryan and Brandon Nimmo back to back. So I got Zach Eflin. The people made the picks for me, so I'm happy with that. I'm kind of second guessing myself in our league where I picked Joe Ryan over Zach Eflin, and when I had Angel on, I did second guess myself. But who would you have rather gotten in that spot, Joe Ryan or Zach Eflin? Who do you believe more in?
mm, I'm gonna go with Eflin purely because of Tampa Bay Magic. Everybody that goes there becomes a different player.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What about Minnesota Twins Magic? I mean, come on, they got some good pitchers up there too. Let's
Yeah,
not
but it's
sleep
still
on them.
Minnesota.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see either, but you know, Tampa Bay has some way of like reviving people's careers and turning them into completely different players. So I always have a Tampa Bay bias there, especially with pitchers.
Absolutely. I don't blame you. But as Angel pointed out, he's a big Rays fan, and I'm wearing my Rays hat I guess, in honor of him unintentionally. There is something to be said about how come their pitchers are always hurt though. Shane McClanahan, Jeffrey Springs, all these really good pitchers, and yeah, they got the magic, but they don't have the magic for them to stay healthy. You know who else is like that? Who gets a high reputation of being able to develop pitchers and this and that and the other, but they can't stay healthy either. You just mentioned them, man. You mentioned three guys. Oh, these pitchers always hurt. Clayton Kershaw, Dustin
Yeah,
May, the Dodgers, the
yep.
LA Dodgers. It's always the teams that know how to develop pitchers that always see them get hurt. But these are the same teams that kind of baby these guys a little bit too much. So I don't know what to make of it, man. And Dodger Stadium is supposed to be a pitcher-friendly park. I believe that the Rays Tropicana Field is also supposed to be a neutral. At least that's the reputation, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I always thought that Tropicana Field was kind of a neutral, more towards pitching friendly ballpark than not. So I don't know what to make of it, man. I honestly don't know. Meanwhile, you got these guys like Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, notwithstanding the last couple of seasons, they just age like wine, and I can't explain it. So it's weird.
Yeah.
I like the Nolan Jones pick by Mike. I also like the Chris Bassett pick by Austin, but he's on the Autobot, so it doesn't count. Advert Alzolay was kind of shocking going to Robert's team. Let's find out who else was available at closer. Joanne Durant. Ooh, that's a tough one to take. But you see, Camilo Doval also went, David Bednar. So now you're seeing a wave of relief pitchers going in the last couple of rounds. Who out of this list was the better option? Was it Alzolay? Was it Doval? Was it Duran and his injuries? Or was it David Bednar?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like for me, it's between like Durant or Doval probably, but
Pick one. Gun to your head.
I'll probably say Durant.
Good. Even with his injury right now, I forgot what the injury was, but it can't be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, it, talking healthiness, I would say Durant, but with injury, I'd go Duvall probably.
There you go. There you go. I know Doval can be a little wild, and that's my issue with him as well. The injury is, oh, it's an oblique muscle. Phew. Out until at least April 22nd. So we'll be lucky if he comes back within a month. But like I said, at least it's not his arm. Anybody else you like in that fifth round there, James?
Mm, not too sure. I mean, definitely not. I mean, it depends on what was available here. Definitely not a huge fan of the Verlander pick. Isn't he out now too for a while?
He's out for a while. I think July was the timetable for him. I'll double check, but yeah. But who picked them? Let's see. What's the team? Oh, Johnny. Well, he has like a million early round
Oh yeah,
picks, so
yeah, yeah. Never mind. That's fine.
he can afford it.
Yeah,
He's
I mean, the interesting one for me here, like that has like maybe like maybe a good ceiling. I don't know. I'm a little high on CJ Abrams. He's on the Washington. He's going to see a lot of time. He's fast. He steals a lot of bases, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So, you know, it's Washington. They don't have like the craziest lineup, but at least they're going to play a lot. You hope on some for some development. I
Hmm.
feel like it's really hard to pick out like one guy in this round here, but maybe with all the relief pitchers going, snagging like a Doval or Bednar here is pretty big.
Well, biased opinion notwithstanding, I got the second guy on that list, Bryce Miller. So remember, there was four pitchers that I wanted. I got two of them, so I was happy. I love Bryce Miller. Maybe I should have gone with a relief pitcher here, though. Maybe David. I love David Bednar. Every year I try to get David Bednar in all my leagues, and sometimes I get him, sometimes I don't. But I was so set on getting that starting those two starting pitchers that it kind of blinded me. And who knows, maybe I could have gotten Bryce Miller in the next round, but we'll never know. Correction on Justin Verlander, out until April 19th, so that's a good sign. And yeah, when you have this many early round picks, you can take those kind of risks. And of course, Melvin gets Anthony Santander, which is he gets him in every league that we're in. I don't know why he's obsessed with Anthony Santander, but maybe I'm too rough on the guy and on Anthony Santander. So, speaking of Melvin, Duran can throw a breaking pitch over 100, bro. It's Duran. Duran. Hungry like the wolf. Moving on to the sixth round. Let's change gears a little bit. Who out of this list of players you see in front of you did you not like?
I mean, we just talked about it a little bit before. Did you know Seawald was hurt before you picked him or no?
Sewell? No. He was healthy.
Okay. All right. So then
Yeah.
I'll think a little bit differently about that one, but not like, hmm, I'm not huge on Helsley. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, maybe
Yeah.
with all the relief pitchers going, but
He's starting to
yeah,
look pretty good at this point, doesn't he?
yeah. I'll say for this round, I was gonna say Sale, but you have so many pitchers, it doesn't even matter. You're looking at the last part of the year there, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick here. Maybe I'll say Salvador. I mean, Contreras and Will Smith have gone at this point already. I don't know what the keepers were like, but not really big on Perez at all. Like
Yeah.
he's wearing down not too nicely right now. Gonna he's in Kansas City. Like especially when I know a Homer again, but like younger guys like Alvarez and stuff are probably still available at this point unless they've been kept. But yeah, I'm not big on Perez. I'd say probably that, assuming that you knew, like you said, Seawald was healthy at the time.
I did
So
not know, but listen, look at the timeline here. The morning of the draft, all right, it was Sunday, March 24th, the morning of the draft. The last update from CBS was Paul Sewell, no runs allowed, threw a scoreless ninth inning. I'm like, all right, my guy is ready to go. I've been drafting him in all my other leagues, so I'm definitely going to draft him in this league. I'm going to practice what I preach. The next day, Monday, March 25th at 6:43 p.m. Eastern, Paul Sewell starting the season on the IL. Timing's off, man.
yeah,
Timing's off. I mentioned before, if I wasn't gonna get Tristan Cassis, Josh Naylor was my next guy, but I know that at least one owner liked him just as much as I do, and I think it was definitely Robert E. And Robert E. the commissioner gets him. Um, so that sucked for me. I like the William Contreras pick. I know I've been waiting on catchers for a while, but give me a Contreras, any Contreras, and I'll be happy. The pick that I didn't like probably on this was I agree with you on the Salvador Perez, but probably Hunter Brown, man. He's last night when I was checking because we did the slow draft and I was very close to getting Hunter Brown. Um, but then I saw that he was getting shellacked in spring training and that they were still trying to teach him a third pitch. I'm like, forget this. Forget this. I don't need this in my life. Let's move on. And I don't know what to make of Christian Javier because I was high on him the last couple of seasons, but he looked dog tired last year. So I don't know. Round seven, fight. There's your guy, Charlie Morton. Of course, he goes to
yeah,
Johnny's team. Johnny just living dangerously. And I mean, Justin Verlander should be back by April because I thought he was going to be gone till July or something, but April 19th, it looks like. Charlie Morton, well, we just talked about him. So Clay Holmes actually got cut, and now he's on my team. So I'm happy about that. So I replaced Paul Sewell with Clay Holmes. I'm happy. But let's talk about a guy you liked in this round. Anybody that sticks out to you that catches your eye
Hmm.
here?
Not a lot of super standouts from here. I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd say maybe the Barrios pick because we've seen like a lot of starting pitching go at this point. And I feel remember what I was saying before, like I'll like re-allude to that is like, when like those like, do everything for you starting pitchers all like fall off the board, you start getting those guys that at least get you the stats, like the category. I know it's not a categories league, but the stats still count, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, like Barrios is always going to be that guy. Like he could be like amazing or he could be like absolutely terrible, but like he still has really good stuff. So
Hmm.
you know I'm not. I was never huge on Marcus Stroman. I mean, he had a good year last year, but I don't see a lot of good stuff for him being in New York and the Yankees. Didn't have a good time in New York last time he was a huge, great time last time he was here, and especially being in that ballpark, throwing the way that he does. I don't know if that's a great mix. So yeah, I mean, seeing what went in this round, I would definitely say Brios is probably like a good one. I mean, Wilson Contreras is a good pickup too with the catchers that went off at this point, and the next catcher being Diaz. Like I think that's a good pick too. Maybe one between one of those.
Yeah, but you mentioned it between Jose Barrios, Charlie Morton, Walker Bueller. This was the dead zone I was trying to avoid. I actually had Tristan McKenzie ranked higher than all those guys, and Juan, who I think this is his first pick in this draft. He traded a lot of picks last year to because he had a really good team last season. So he was throwing the kitchen sink and trading away all his draft picks. Did he make a pick in the last round? Oh yeah, he did. He picked Christian Javier. And the chat's already saying, "Yeah, it's too early for Christian. He's gonna disappoint you." So, so some of the Texan. Oh, and then Mitch Keller. He also got Mitch Keller. So yeah, he got into the draft really late because he traded away a lot of his picks last year. But I thought Tristan McKenzie was the prize of this round, and I was hoping to get him in the eighth round. Uh, but that did not happen. But I like what Tristan McKenzie has done in the spring, and when he's healthy, he's like the Kevin Durant of Major League Baseball because he's built like a pencil. Round eight. Are we not giving up on Hunter Green yet?
I mean, there's
Like
a, I'm not sure. I mean,
I don't want to
he's
give up on him, but I did not get him this year, so
I don't know. I always see Cincinnati, I see pitcher, and I always have to think twice a little bit. I know he has some really good stuff, but you know, there's a couple of pitchers that went later in this round that maybe I would have picked first, but you know, maybe like Ober, but
I
I don't
am
know.
a huge fan of Bailey Ober, and
Yeah,
I'm
we
dis
you talked about it on the last podcast. I was
think
commenting.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. You were there. You were there. Thank you for chiming in. Really quick, some of these comments here. Like I mentioned, Robert, the Astros fan, Christian Javier will disappoint. So, if the Astros fan doesn't believe in him, why should we? Melvin, Alexis Diaz is a toss-up. He can be his brother Edwin, or he can be Armando Benitez sometimes, like Jesus. But actually that's a pretty good that's a pretty good comparison. It seems like everybody's really high on Alexis Diaz, but I keep thinking is yeah, for a top 10 relief pitcher, he's probably the shakiest of them all. So I'm glad that Melvin sees it my way. Contreras, Johnny says, way too soon. I think that's what he's trying to say. Robert, I had Hunter Brown later in the draft. Yeah, well, we talked about him. Uh, Robert says Green will be a free agent in June. Wow. That's high praise from the commissioner there. He expects him to be gone from Shane's team by June of this year. We'll see about that. I did not like the Willie Adames pick or the Brandon Lau pick. Yeah, those two picks. I didn't like those picks. As you know, I'm a big fan of Masataka Yoshida, so I like that one. I was thinking of getting Vinny Pasquantino as my utility guy, but Carey took him from me. So I figure, you know what? I need a second baseman, right? Because I'm waiting on Xander Bogaerts to get uh, qualification there. So Hassan Kim will be my second baseman coming into the season in the interim. So and he also qualifies as shortstop, third
Yep.
base, second base. So I'm happy with that. But Mike also got him. So I mean, this is a really good round for middle infielders. Even if I'm dissing Brandon Lau, and even if I'm dissing Willie Adames, it's not too shabby. You could do a lot worse, as we're gonna find out at the middle infield position. We don't have middle infield or corner infield positions though. Just to let you know there, James.
Okay.
Okay. Spencer Torkelson, and Vinny Pasquantino or Spencer Torkelson. Who do you like there?
Uh, mm, I'd probably go for Torkelson over Pasquantino, maybe. That might be like a little bit of a homer thing. I like Torkelson, but I don't know. It's uh it's the two teams for me that I always shy away from trying to pick players is Cincinnati and Kansas City. Just something about those two teams that like I feel like their players are cursed in fantasy, so might be a bit of a homer thought there,
Well,
but yeah.
this would be the year. This would be the year to stockpile on those teams, and because next year they're going to be hard to come by. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Vinny P. I love Vinny Pasquantino. I think he could be the next Joey Votto. I know. Gotta hold my horses there, Felipe, but I can't help myself. Jung Hoo Lee is a very interesting pick around there. He could be Brandon Nimmo. When Brandon Nimmo was giving you like 6 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Moving on. Round 9. Jordan Montgomery has a team. It's not Texas. It's who the hell did he go to? Oh, the Diamondbacks, right?
Believe so.
Yeah, he went to Arizona. Corey was bragging about how the Diamondbacks now have 3 top 10, top 15 starting pitchers who led the league in WAR last year, but the baseball reference WAR. So you know how I feel about baseball references definition of the WAR category. I'm not for it. So I'm all about Fangraphs, baby. Let's see. I do not like the Esteury Ruiz pick. I don't like Melvin's draft, man. I'll be honest. I wish he was here so I could trash him in person, but
Yeah.
is there any positive about Esteury Ruiz, man? I don't see it. Aside from stolen
Stolen
bases.
bases. That's it.
Aside from that,
Yeah.
that's it. Okay. And a points league, you think that'll work?
Uh I don't know. I mean, yeah, if it's not categories, it might be. It's a little bit tougher of a pill to swallow, I think.
Other players I like here is Sean Murphy at catcher. That's a really good catcher to get this late in the draft, especially after the big names went by. To get a catcher of his caliber in round 9, that's a pretty decent steal. Who do you not like besides Esteury Ruiz in this round?
Hmm. Uh, I know Lane Thomas had a good year last year. I'm not personally that high on him. I feel like
I
he's just like one of
I
those
agree.
weird guys. Like, and especially at like right field, like those corner outfield positions, I feel like you could just get anywhere in the draft and like get something out of it. Like, I always like worry with. I feel like Lane Thomas is just one of those guys who's just gonna be like okay for like a long time. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna shine, but he's not gonna be like horrible either. So.
I guess.
But I think Asturi Ruiz is probably the worst one in this round, maybe.
And I got Isaac Paredes as my third baseman. Remember, I needed a third baseman too. I had Manny Machado last year, so I'm going with Isaac Paredes, and we'll see what happens. Really, I have an ace up my sleeve at the moment. I just need to get creative with my roster. Like I said, you only have 22 players here, but I definitely have an ace up my sleeve. Jeff McNeil, I know you like that pick, but that went to the auto team, so who knows if Tim was around, if he would have picked him this in the ninth round. And the reason why the name column is so huge is because of Christian Encarnacion Strand, the man with a million letters in his name. Yuri Perez. Ouch. I like Yuri Perez, but not if he's going to be hurt. So that
Yeah.
sucks for him. And let's move on to the round 10. Are you hungry?
Yeah. Jake Berger. I
Yeah.
hate that guy. Cannot stand him.
Really? Shane going with back-to-back Marlins players and Tanner Scott and Jake Berger. Well, what's the deal with Berger? Is it not enough pickles? Too much
Nah,
cheese?
you know what it is? He's just one of those guys that like I feel like was always on the waiver wire. And it's
Hmm.
like you need like to fill a spot and you're like, oh look, Jake Berger's hot right now. And then you pick
Uh-huh.
him up and then he's absolute horrible, like just trash for like a month after that. I don't know. I'm not high
You're
on him at all.
telling me, you're telling me there's no value in a guy that gets you a 317 on base percentage and a 30% strikeout rate? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and his name sucks.
Well, he needs to be paired with Paul Fry
Yeah.
and also James Hot Dog, the second
Yeah.
baseman. Okay, I'll stop now. Seth Beer and Jake Burger. I actually had a burger before I came onto the show, so a cheeseburger. But I told my wife, give me the Jake Burger, hold the onions. So back to actually, you can say back to back awful picks. Jake Burger, Chris Bryant. When there's a perfectly good, healthy Seiya Suzuki who is beating the crap out of the ball in spring training this year. I think those guys dropped the ball there. With Seiya being available, Jordan Walker being available. Um, I like the Seiya Suzuki and Walker picks, especially considering that Berger and Bryant were picked ahead of those guys. Mike finding Bryson Stott. I my dream, James, coming into all my drafts, I want to get both Bryce Miller and Brian Wu on my team. And it finally happened in this league. And of course, Brian Wu. I've been bragging. Well, it's Paul Sewell. It's just a lat. He'll be fine. It's not his arm. Same thing with Joanne Durant. Well, I don't have Joanne Durant, but hey, it's not his arm. It's just an oblique muscle. He'll be fine. No, Brian Wu has an actual arm injury, and that's kind of scaring me at the moment. So, but it's I can't cut him. I can't cut him. I can't do it. I just gotta hold on for dear life. To finish out the round 10 here, who do you like after Brian Wu?
After Brian Wu.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
how much does like on base percentage affect the points in this league?
You
Is
know
it like
what?
a big?
I've been trying to figure that out, but because on base percentage is a as you know, I'm a big fan of on base percentage. I don't look at batting average. I don't look at anything else. I look at a player's on base percentage, especially in leagues like ours, especially when I don't have time to go on my Fangraphs machine and I'm just trying to set my lineup really quickly. I like to see how did that player do in the last, I don't know, 10 to 14 days. What's his on base percentage like? And that's why I'm so high in Ivan Herrera. Oops. I just mentioned a player that I was trying to keep a secret, but the secret's out. I'm a big fan of Ivan Herrera because last year he showed that he can, even though he didn't hit for much pop, every time I was thinking of starting because we're in a two catcher league, right? So there's Ivan Herrera on my roster. Should I start him? Well, it looks like the last 2 weeks he's posted a 340 on base percentage. Sign him, put him in there. Let's go. 340. But in a points league, I have not figured that out. But I do know that there has to be some correlation with
Yeah, I mean,
things like slugging percentage and ops. I think that's a better correlation than a guy's batting average.
yeah. Uh, yeah, because there's a lot of interesting picks here. I love Kwan. I love Stephen Kwan. Like, great guy. At least I know it's like category. I'm thinking of categories specifically, but like
Hmm.
that guy can round out. Like you get a Christian Walker on your team who's just like only gonna hit home runs and like never anything else. Like just strike out all the time. You get a guy like Kwan in there. It's like just brings one normal player, one really good player.
Well, you asked. Let's find out. Let's find out. On base percentage. It's hard to tell on this little on the big board here, but you know what I'm gonna do? Let's hide up. Let's hide all this crap. We don't need this, right? Let's hide these columns. And all we care about is the fantasy points column, right? This is the ATC projection spreadsheet I was working on that was helping me trying to figure out how to rank these players in all my leagues. Well, in this one it says points league, so obviously this is the spreadsheet I was using specifically for this league, right? So let's sort this by most fantasy points according to Ariel Cohen's imagination as to what he thinks this season is going to turn out to be. And as you can see, anything that's red is really, really good. And the lighter the color, the worse you can get. So as you can see, I'm sorry, I'm looking at that right here. Red, like super red. And those are your top two fantasy points getters, Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto, right?
Yeah.
Uh, then, then you get this guy at 328 on base percentage. That's pretty low, but it's Bobby Witt. So maybe on base percentage is not the best indicator. And then you go down here and you got guys in the 330s, which is still a respectable on base percentage, but pretty low compared to everybody else. And that's Marcus Simeon, and Trey Turner, which they still have value in points leagues because of the positions that they play in. So maybe on base percentage is not the best indicator, but it is a pretty decent indicator that displays somewhat of a consistency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because as you know, batting average fluctuates. We don't know what to expect from batting average, but on base percentage, that's a better indicator evaluation tool as to who this player is as a consistent Major League Baseball player. So I'm starting to believe that maybe the magic number, the magic stat to kind of correlate with, points production in a league like this would be ops.
Yep.
And maybe even WOBA or WRC plus. But let's face it, the guys who are on the chat, they don't care about WOBA or WRC plus. So let's give them a stat that they can actually put two and two together, literally. And as you can see, there's a lot of red. And okay, so there's a guy with an 831 ops, but again, that's Bobby Witt and Jose Ramirez. Otherwise, 972 goes to Aaron Judge. He should finish, he's supposed to finish eighth in fantasy points. So that's pretty good. Hell, even at 846, 849 ops, that's pretty good. Corbin Carroll. You're not gonna not pick Corbin Carroll because he has a low 846 ops. So, and then you get down here to the like after top 20, and yeah, it's the guys who are hovering around the 800 marker. But those guys are infielders. Marcus Simeon, Trey Turner, Ozzie Albies, Francisco Lindor, Alex Bregman at 811. And then it goes back up again with 837 with Kyle Schwarber. So all in all, but Kyle Schwarber with the 222 batting average, right? So that just proves that batting average is not a good indicator of fantasy point production.
Yep.
So what did we learn? Well, we learned that ops might be the better indicator for fantasy point success than on base percentage, but you still have some guys who could still produce if you are to believe these numbers, like, Nico Horner, which we just saw Nico Horner get drafted pretty early in this draft. So did I answer your question? I don't even know, but these are things we got to think about, right? I mean, when we're on the waiver wire, we got to start thinking like, okay, how do I know the guy I'm getting is gonna keep, like you just mentioned Jake Berger, like the moment you pick him up, he's gonna start sucking for your team, and for many many reasons, and some of these numbers are not gonna show that, right?
Yeah.
Because he's on fire. So of course the on base is going to be magically high. Of course the ops is going to be magically high. So it's a tough game, right? Right. The waiver wire is a tough game to play, but I think that's the reason we play it, right? It's because we want to
Yeah.
see if we can actually get away with it or not.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, it's an interesting point because Stephen Kwan, yeah, steady as they come, but then Jake Berger is your big booming player. So who do we tell people to get? Do we tell them to get the inconsistent Jake Berger or the low floor but steady Stephen Kwan? It's
Yeah.
tough. In a categories league, I guess I would go with Stephen Kwan, but I guess in a league like this, I hesitantly, reluctantly pick Jake Berger, and I don't feel good about myself. I don't want
Yeah.
that. But that's why I suggest, hey, these two guys right here, Seiya Suzuki and Jordan Walker, those might have been the outfielders to get. As far as corner infield, well, we'll see. Who else was drafted at third base? Justin Turner only qualifies at DH, I think, this year. Um, I don't see any more third baseman, man, or first baseman, or or maybe this is the spot where the point of the draft where you're looking for utility spots, right? The utility position.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, who would you rather have, Giancarlo Stanton or Jake Berger?
Yeah, I'd probably pick Jake Berger over John Carlos.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. And I agree with you. I don't like Jake Berger, but maybe there's something to the madness here. But don't look at
Yeah.
me. I went with the pitcher, and I got burned by it. So yeah, Robert Suarez, good job there by Robert. I've been pretty high on Robert Suarez. I just struck out on all my leagues in getting him, so at least he got him. 11th round. Who are we talking about? Oh, a guy that you hated in this round.
Hmm.
Come on, you want to say Carlos Correa.
I can't because I picked him up in my league because I'm going to be a hypocrite. Uh, I don't know. I
I
mean,
I see a couple names that I really don't. Three names actually. Four names.
yeah,
Let
I
me
don't
give you
like,
some time. Let me give you some time to think about it. Let me go through these comments really quick. Johnny says he needed a backup for Trout when if he gets injured. So yeah, the Jung Hoo Lee guy, uh, as safe as a picking you can get at center field. Melvin defending his Esteury Ruiz pick. Hey man, Ruiz was with me till Friday. Whomever Trout Outman thinks he clears waivers on Friday. So you're gonna replace Esteury Ruiz for James Outman, who strikes out, who's basically Joey Gallo. Good luck to you. Melvin, Ivan Herrera. I got his press conference in Baseball Cosmos. Gonna have a good season. Okay, well there you go. Because he interviewed with Melvin, I think that's what he's trying to say. Ivan Herrera is going to have big things in this 2024 campaign. Okay, so what do you got for me, man? Who do you hate?
I'm gonna say Taiwan Walker.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hurts because I did like him. He's a good guy. He's a good player, but like, it's just one, you put him in Philly, and like two, he's just one of the most inconsistent pitchers. Like I don't like him. I don't see any appeal with him. Like,
Yep. Yep. I like these two picks up here. Balls out. That's Mike's team, Nick Pavetta, and yours truly getting Kenta Maeda, who I think I got Kenta Maeda in all my leagues, including this one. There's something to be said about that veteran leadership there. Yeah, that's right. Intangibles in fantasy baseball, right? So, but yeah, if out of the pitchers that were selected in this round, these were the two guys to get. I would say Kyle Harrison was even worse than Taiwan Walker. I don't care that Kyle Harrison is supposed to be a promising prospect. Um, he has proven to be so inconsistent in the minors. He can't be trusted on the big league team. I think he's getting trashed in spring training, and that's supposed to be your 50 future value top prospect. No, I don't see it, man. I don't see it.
yeah, but if I look between like Kyle Harrison and Taiwan Walker, it's like we already know what Taiwan Walker is. Like you don't know what Kyle Harrison could become
Yeah.
this late in the draft. Like I'd rather take a Kyle Harrison than go for a Taiwan Walker.
I
If
will give Kyle Harrison this. In spring training, he has a swinging strike percentage of 27.6%. That's pretty damn high. So at least he's missing bats, but the results are not there. I mean, the strikeouts are there, but he's walking per nine 5.68. But hey, you know what? In this crazy, wacky baseball era, that's good enough to get you a Cy Young award now. Blake Snell
yeah,
broke barriers last year, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too harsh on the kid. He's only 22. Yeah, he's only 22 years old. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. Ian Happ has a hamstring issue. It seems like he's been fighting hamstring problems all spring training long. So, but Shane picked him in the last pick of the 11th round. To the 12th round, our favorite players, Sonny Gray and Jack Flaherty and Kodai Senga. What the hell is going on here?
I mean, hey, if you look at all the pitchers that have been getting taken to this point, like, you know, I give him a pass. I picked Flaherty too. I picked him a lot later than 12, but it was also a fresh draft. It wasn't a
Yeah, keeper.
keepers.
Yeah.
But I mean, Flaherty was pretty great a couple years back, coming back from injury, right? Could do something. Like you
Jo-
never know.
Johnny's saying that we talk faster than he can type.
Yeah, we both talk pretty fast. Oh, look, your
Uh,
favorite, Giloff.
oh yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. If I don't get Hassan Kim, at least I could still get Zach Geloff or Geloff, whatever the hell he calls himself. I could still get Zach Geloff, I thought to myself. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. Will I regret it later? Probably. I don't care. I can't do it. Can't win with him. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Parker Meadows surprisingly going to Carey's team. Actually, Carey goes back to back. Um, question. I don't want. I guess you can call them low tier prospects because I mean I do like Parker Meadows, but I there's a certain limit to his potential. And then Zach Geloff, I think he just looks good because he plays on a putrid team in Oakland. By the way, the pitcher to get here was Sonny Gray, I think. Although you might argue that Kodai Senga, especially if he's not going to be missing too much time.
Yeah, but
But
that's only recent news, so you wouldn't have known that when this draft was going on.
it's a
So
good point.
yeah, but I
There,
mean, even then, like it didn't look like it was that big of an issue, anyways. Like he had like he was, in rookie of the year conversation last year. I probably would have picked him a little bit earlier just to like have him, even if he was out for a month.
Johnny says that he loves my Kenta Maeda pick. I look forward to picking him up in free agency in week 3 or 4. Listen, brother, once I get Kenta Maeda on my team, I don't let go, man. He's there for life. This is the pick that I was celebrating like I just won the Super Bowl, as you know, or you may not know. I don't know. But aside from Adley Rutschman, I think Gabriel Moreno easily the number one player that we talked about in this season, in this offseason. Like every other like segment was about Gabriel Moreno. And I struck out in both of our leagues, the other two leagues. And I got him. And like, finally, yes, yes. Because then if I don't get him, I would have been stuck with Francisco Alvarez, Tyler Stevenson.
Stuck with? That's crazy.
Ah, man, strikeouts are a thing in this league, man. Who's the other guy? I know there's another catcher. I think Jonah Heim was still available, which I didn't. Nah, there he is, Jonah Heim in the 14th round. I guess I could have waited, but nah, I'm not doing it. I know, Francisco Alvarez, but man, I don't know. I don't think this is his year. I just there's just too much
Yeah.
swing and miss tendencies. I don't get it. I don't. I'd
Yeah,
rather
he's
not
been
deal with
getting
that.
better though. But
I
yeah, no,
know.
I
Yeah.
could see it. Moreno's a really good pick here. I'm being a homer, but yeah, it's
And I
we're
like
both being
Francisco Alvarez.
homers.
I know, and I like Alvarez. I really do, but he's not there. He's not Moreno. Like in terms of like plate approach and plate discipline, Moreno's on another level. It's him and Adley Rushman in that category in terms of, batting eye and pitch recognition among catchers. It's between those two, and Moreno makes Rushman look like he's not on his level. And we're talking about just this much of this minuscule difference between those two guys in terms of like strikeout per walk, I'm sorry, walk per strikeout ratio, where Moreno actually has shown the ability in spurts to be better than Rushman at. Now, that being said, this is the risk you take with a Gabriel Moreno, though. We don't, because like you mentioned, we don't know what we have in him. Although you mentioned that about, yeah, Kyle Harrison, right? But we don't know what we have in Moreno. Like, is it just the batting eye? Is that all he brings to the table? Can he turn that ability into production? More home runs, more stolen bases? Yeah, you heard right. Stolen bases. He stole about six in part-time duty last year, or yeah, because he was injured for a lot of the year last season. And it remains to be seen because I don't even know. I just know that a guy that young with that much upside, with that maturity at the plate, I think it was worth reaching because I had him ranked below Francisco Alvarez. But when you get to the 12th round and you got three or four catches left before you get into that catching dead zone, big boy decisions had to be made. And I already lost out on Gabriel Moreno in my other two leagues. I wasn't going to lose out on him this time around.
Yep.
And I've been big on Francisco Alvarez, but in terms of maturity level at the plate, and I'm pretty sure Alvarez is pretty mature himself, but Moreno's is just on another level. That's my
I could see that.
and that's my opinion. I mean, people might call me out and say, well, Felipe, you're looking at the wrong numbers. And like, shut up. That's what I say about that. But let's give Francisco Alvarez some shine here because like I said, I do like him, but I think the strikeouts were kind of scaring me off, or at least the projected strikeouts with Ariel Cohen, as Johnny already called me out. Like you just can't solely base it on numbers. Like no, you can't, but it's a good starting point. And we had an episode about that where we talk about the pros and cons to using projections. In spring training, look at that, 32% strikeout rate for Francisco Alvarez. So he's still striking out at a very alarming rate. We do get negative points for strikeouts,
It's
but
fair.
it comes with 25 home run potential, 63 RBI potential, run producing potential. So, but it also comes with a low batting average and low on base percentage. Slugging percentage is really high,
Yeah.
potentially, as you know, potentially. But at this point, it's about, okay, well, who's going to hurt you less? And I think Moreno's going to hurt me less than Francisco Alvarez. And that's why I did what I did. Max Scherzer going to Kolar's team, the Houston person. There's a pick that you would like, Sean Manaea. That's a typical Robert selection there, I think. He likes those veteran pitchers. Are you excited about Sean Manaea as a Mets fan?
How about I'll give you the short answer. I didn't even remember that we signed him until like 5 days ago when I checked my phone. So I guess I'm not that excited about it. But
Oh,
you know,
hey.
he fills out a rotation. He's it's better than having Jose Butto make 7 spot starts this year. So I'll
Oh,
take what I
oh,
could get.
absolutely. Anything's better than Jose Butzo, man. Sean was so. I forgot if Sean was just bringing him up as an example of a guy that can bounce back, or if he actually really liked them. But man, I'm like,
I
I
mean, he
really
looked
got.
really good this spring. I will say Butto looked very good this spring, but it's spring, so I'm not that high on him.
Hey, man, you say it's spring, but you guys are getting excited for that other guy. What's his name? The other pitcher for the Mets. Uh, oh, what the hell
Yeah,
was his name?
McGill.
No, the other guy. Oh, shame on me. I already forgot the name, but he got brought up in our Baseball Life league, in our Baseball Life Facebook group. And ever since he got brought up, I see him everywhere now. And of course, I can't remember his name. It's a pretty common name too. I'm looking it up on the roster resource. But Sean Manaea, I think he's going to be a solid contributor to the Mets rotation this year. Yeah, yeah, I see. Jose
That's
Quintana,
it. Just solid.
Luis. I'm sorry, what?
He's just solid. That's it.
But you need solid. I mean, with all the injuries you
Yeah.
guys are dealing with, you need that. Absolutely.
Yep.
Christian Scott. Sorry, Christian Scott.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like he's already listed in the minor league, so it looks like he's not going to be making it to the big league team. But I know that Mets fans in the Baseball Life Facebook group were clamoring that this guy should be the fifth guy off the rotation. But as of right
Yeah.
now,
It's
it's
Tyler
age.
McGill.
Well, okay. I got Quintana, according to roster resource, and you tell me if the roster resource is wrong, or you tell me how you see it. Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, number two, Tyler McGill, number three, Sean Manaea at number four, Adrian Hauser at number five. What do you think of that rotation?
Yeah, that's the one that they announced the other day. I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, it's the rotation we got right now.
Hmm.
I think it has like it's very like the floor. It's not too low. Like you have some like, you know,
Oh,
solid, kind of, veterans in there. And then you have guys like McGill, Buto, Leo
hmm.
Senga that could like really light up a little bit. But you know that if those guys aren't having a good time, you at least have someone that's gonna you could give the ball and you at least know what you could expect from them rather than, have like four guys that could go out there that could get get a shutout or they could get blown out. So I think it's okay. I could be a lot happier, but I'm fine with what we have for now.
As a Mets person though, I mean you should be okay, even with the guys in AAA that can help out. Like you mentioned Jose Buto. I know he's a little wild, but he's an arm. Like Dave wants he has an arm and a knee and a leg. Joey Lucchesi. I mean, I know that he's not the sexiest of names, but he's a serviceable veteran pitcher coming from the left-handed side. And then the big name, Christian Scott, the number 98th ranked Fangraphs prospect, lighting up the radar and striking out guys left and right. So you guys finally, unlike in years past, that was the thing you guys had at a disadvantage compared to a team like the Braves. Although I don't know if this team is actually any more complete than they were last year, but I now see some options coming out of the minor league system for once. Um, Unlike the Braves who were stacked in the minor leagues and they can bring up reinforcements, I feel like the Mets couldn't do it. But just looking at your pitching staff, it looks like this is the first time in a while that I could see some help coming if need be, right? Plus, all the guys that are injured, they're eventually going to get healthy. Kodai
Yeah,
Senga, David
David Peterson.
Peterson. Who's Max? I don't know who Max Kranick is, but he has a hamstring, so at least it's not an arm. But he's been out since February, so who knows at this point. All right, let's move on. Let's see here. Well, there's a nice comment I want to read. Johnny, Sean Manaea is still in the league? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's been in the league, man. Serviceable pitcher. He's left-handed. He's gonna be in the league forever, right? He's left-handed. He's come out of the bullpen. He starts in the rotation. Don't judge my Cowser pick. I was out of time and beer pressured me. Oh, right. It's a keeper league, I guess. I figured this Johnny's the same guy who had like 8 prospects on his team at one point last season. So you talk about tanking. Silly guy. You can't keep all those guys. By the way, we got 2 minor league protected players as well, in case you didn't know, or in case you were wondering.
Okay.
As you know, we have 5 in our league, so but we get 2 in this league. Okay. Okay, okay, let's move on. Oh, they say that it's gonna be a lot of saves for Edwin Diaz, so you should be happy about that. Brian Hayes, JP France, Carlos Estevez, Patrick Scandable, and Chris Morel. I think this is Melvin's last pick. And then he texted me saying, I'm out for the rest of the night. I'm gonna let the computer pick the rest of my team. So he went out with a Cubs player. There's Jerry Kelenic, and there's my pick, Dalton Varsho. There's my center fielder. So I told you I was gonna wait for center field. That means I got Dalton Varsho in all 3 of my leagues. Yandy Diaz, Jordan Wicks, Luis Severino, there's a Mets player. Eduardo Rodriguez. A couple of days later, he gets hurt. And Reed Detmers. Who do you love here?
Um, I think, Yandy's a good pick here. I think you're going to get a lot from him for like how weak first base probably is at this point of the draft. And he's also Tampa Bay, like I already said. You never know what to expect from Tampa Bay people like that. Um, but weirdly, I think like for I want to give like also like a reach pick, but like one that could like really work out. I feel like that now that Kellenic is in Atlanta, he's gonna be facing the Mets every other week. I think he's that it's gonna be a good change of scenery. Like I think he could really do something this year for a pick this late. That's a pretty good pick to me. But
Yeah, but
I don't like Reed Detmers at all. I would say that I don't like that pick, to be honest.
I actually like Reed Detmers, but I like the Angels rotation this year. But you gotta be very selective with those guys. I know I picked Griffin Canning, and I think I already dropped them because there was better options out there. But I'm not. I will always keep an eye on the Angels rotation now that Shohei Ohtani isn't clogging up a spot in that set rotation. Robert's letting us know that Kelenic is no longer with Mike's team, that now he's on the commissioner's team. Robert has him on his team. So, yeah, I can see Kelenic getting passed around a lot this upcoming season. Uh,
Probably. He's one of those
y-
waiver wire guys, but I don't know. I
yeah.
see Atlanta. He's facing the Mets. Every ex-Met destroys the Mets. So just play him whenever he's facing the Mets, and you'll get good stats.
Even against the left-handed pitchers there,
It doesn't matter. The
it
the
doesn't matter.
the anti-Mets agenda beats all.
Nothing brings a smile to my face than seeing a White Sox fan, Carey McAttack, picking a Cubs player. I love that. Although I think Carey's given up on the White Sox too. I see a lot of my White Sox fans giving up on that team right now. 'Cause they're tired of their nonsense. So that was a player you like. The player that I hate, Jarred Kelenic. No, I'm just
I didn't say I
uh,
liked him. I said it was a good reach.
yeah. Former Uber prospect, absolutely. Yeah, Yandy D. I got the CBS bot, the one that writes like the wrap up stories. I don't know if you know what those are. Have
Yeah.
you know? Okay. They trashed me because I didn't get Yandy Diaz earlier. I mean, I didn't get any Yandy Diaz, but I had plenty of opportunities to get Yandy Diaz, and I didn't get him, and they trashed me for it. Like this bot just trashed me for it. Like, who the hell are you, man? It's a human game. It's a human element. Shut up. The player that I don't like, they're all nice picks, whatever. I've been told that I'm too mean, but obviously my favorite pick was Dalton Varsho, so because he went to my team. And as you can see, Melvin's first auto pick was Starling Marte. Like, ooh, no,
Yikes.
ouch. Even the Mets fan says he doesn't like it. So,
Yeah.
Spencer Jones going to the Yankee fan, so that's pretty good. I like the AJ Puke selection there by Primo. I think that's the first time you mentioned his name. I got Anthony Rizzo because just in case this Tristan Cassis guy doesn't work out, or if I need a utility player, I am a believer in the big bounce back season for Rizzo. So, but you know what the best part about me getting Rizzo this late? At least I didn't have to reach for him like Melvin reached for Jose Abreu, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts on Josh Jung? Because I was thinking about him too, but I was hesitating. Um, Josh
I think
Jung,
it's a huge pick this late for third base.
yeah.
Like especially, I mean, also once again, and this is recency bias with hindsight. He's like, I think they cleared him now with the injury issues that he was having. Like he's like starting now. Um, he was in rookie of the year conversations before he went down last year, and you're getting him in the 14th round at like a prime position, third base. I think it's a pretty good pick here.
Yeah, it made me wonder if I was better off not getting Isaac Paredes where I got him and maybe holding off until I got Josh Jung. But I'm a big fan. Hey, Team Mexico all the way. I needed to get at least one Mexican on my team, right? So I'm getting called out for my Dalton Varsho pick. Johnny says Dalton Varsho's okay, but he's not an everyday player. Excuse you, sir. The Blue Jays don't have anyone to play for him. I mean, who are you putting in there? Ernie Clement? Who the hell is that guy? Davis Schneider? Am I putting a German out in the outfield? Get out of here. Especially one that's supposed to be playing infield.
Yeah.
Don't,
I just find it so funny that the Blue Jays are like stashing catchers. They have like five catchers on their team. Like even though Varsho's not catching anymore, it's just funny that he's
yeah.
like part of that roster. They had what did they have three catchers on their active roster last year?
And that's with them trading Gabriel Moreno as well. So
Yeah.
well, I would make fun of them along with you, but my Cubs team, they won a World Series with three catchers. Like they insisted on getting three catchers on that team.
Yeah, because they
They
were
had
all like 40 except for Contreras. So I
well,
hope you
hold
get
on
three
now.
catchers.
Well, they needed Miguel Montero. Well, they definitely needed David Ross because he was John Lester's personal catcher and such a clubhouse leader. And of course, like you mentioned, Wilson Contreras, sorry. Wilson Contreras was the future. And yeah, yeah, I miss Wilson here in Chicago, but I understand he had a lot of shortcomings as well. But no, Dalton Varsho projected to get 26 home runs, 15 stolen bases. The rate stats are still pretty low, but however, they are saying that his swing has been improving. His swing has been improving, and that he's not going to settle for power anymore. He's going to try to hit for average. So there, even though I'm the advanced stats guy, I acknowledge average, meaning he's going to hit for more contact, I hope, and use his speed and take advantage of his speed to get on base and wreak havoc on the base paths and steal more bases and contribute in other ways than just trying to hit bombs. So far in spring training, he has one home run, eight stolen bases, eight stolen bases. Every other game, he steals a base, James. How you like them apples?
Yeah.
Swinging strike rate is at 6.3%. So that's compared to in years past where it's always above 10%. Swinging strike rate is it's hard to kind of gauge what's acceptable and what's not, but you try to, yeah, and it also depends, right? If you have a slugging hitter on your team, you can live with a swinging strike percentage above 10% because you're getting something, you're getting the production, right? Yeah, he's gonna strike out a lot, but at least he's getting you 30 home runs, and you live and die with that. He's walking. Dalton Varsho is walking more than striking out in spring training, and he has a 286 batting average with a on base percentage of 400 and a slugging of 408. I know it's spring training, but this is a guy who struggled pretty mightily at times. He has the counting stats, but he's not consistent. So all of this spring training stuff, although you're supposed to take with a grain of salt, knowing what I know about him, how he was working really hard on that swing this offseason. But then I'm reminded that Jason Hayward also used to work on his swing all the time, and that never came to fruition either. So, but I'm still excited. I've always been a big fan of Dalton Varsho, as you may or may not know, James, especially when he was a catcher. So still hold out hope that he can have a bounce back into his career and become the consistent player that I know he can be. There, I said it. I like the Ryan Pepio pick here.
Yeah, he just got announced for the rotation the other day.
Good for him, Jack. And then Mason Miller got picked up by Primo. Interestingly enough, Sean got him in our league, and I know that he's a big fan of Mason
Yeah,
Miller.
and he dropped him, I think.
Yeah, what's up with that? I don't know.
Yeah, he dropped him this morning, I'm pretty sure. I saw him hit the waiver wire on my phone.
Josh Slow, I like that. I like this Josh Slow pick, man.
Yeah, it's a good late
I, I
pick.
I know he's hurt, but that's a top lift. Who got him? Oh,
It's only
Shane
a
got him.
month. It's only a month, I'm pretty sure. It's not the end of the world.
Well, just in case, Shane got Jaren Duran as well, and nice little insurance for the Josh Slow pick. I'll be honest, I don't know who Walker Jenkins is.
Me neither.
Let's find out. Anyway, Gavin Stone goes to Primo's team, so there's a little bit of strategy going on with Primo getting these fringe starting pitchers, but with really good stop and high prospect pedigree. There's your guy Tyler McGill, Carey. Been listening to those Mets fans tripping.
Yeah, he has a slider now. He's looking really good so far in the spring.
I
So
I heard, I
and
heard,
and
yeah.
and he did start. Listen, everybody forgets. He's just one of those guys. He just like runs out of steam. Like he
Mm.
starts off so strong, and then he just like runs out of energy. If he could just keep it up for for a season, he could be really special. So I never hate on a Tyler McGill pick. Plus, he's also like what 6'8". Like I feel like those guys can last a lot longer throwing as hard as they do. But
Yeah,
then again, Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom, look at them. So I don't know.
no, but it's simple. I mean, it's supposed to be simple biology, right? I mean, the bigger the person, I mean, the more, the easier it should be for you to throw that hard. I mean, look at Randy Johnson, and then, although for every Randy Johnson, you get a Bailey Ober who has really good command, but not very exciting, like electric stuff. But he's not gonna. He has really good control and command of his pitches, though. So, Walker Jenkins is a 19-year-old left-handed hitter for the Minnesota Twins. He's currently in single A, or at least listed in single A. In the 2023 draft, he was drafted as the fifth pick overall to the Minnesota Twins. Good, very good hit tool, but it's still a work in progress. So the upside's there, but currently he's not polished. Same thing with his power numbers, average speed, still working on his fielding, but a future value of 55. And again, this is based on an 80 grade scale, so 55 out of 80. And last year had in the complex league showed very good control of the bat, two home runs, four stolen bases in 14 games. So um, Johnny's trashing me. Oh my God, too much praise for Cactus in spring training games. That's all we got, man. How else are we supposed to evaluate these players? What do you think these real teams are doing? What do you think the real teams are doing with their players when they see them out there? Well, I don't know, James. You tell me when you were in spring training or doing practice. Well, Johnny also says he played, so maybe he knows too. But you tell me what is the mindset? I mean, how I know that it's just practice,
Yeah,
but I mean,
the
what are
famous Anthony Imperiali line.
it's just practice, you guys. Um, but what do you think coaches are looking for in these exhibition games?
I think it's more about like how the player is playing, like how their swing looks, like how how they're running, like how they're playing the field, like more than like their stats, to be honest. I tend to just ignore like stats overall for spring because there's so many like factors to that, like pitchers that are not throwing as hard as they can, trying to build up, like the colder weather in certain parts, or like the warmer weather depending on where they're playing. I don't know, it's too many variables
Hmm.
at play, so I tend to not look at the stats. It's more about like how the player looks, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know that I try not to put too much emphasis, but when I hear certain things about certain pitchers, like I'm not gonna name this pitcher because there's too many guys in my league listening in, and I'm worried about you as well. There's a pitcher that was on a podcast that was mentioned in a podcast recently, and he usually throws in the high 90s, but he was only throwing in the mid 90s. But he gave up 0 hits in 5 innings pitched, and he had 20 swing and misses, and his sweeper looked good. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I may just get that guy. If I have room on any of these teams, I may just get that guy. I didn't. I went in another direction. But things like that, certain buzzwords, certain little hints that maybe this guy is ready to go, especially for this pitcher in particular. I'm just gonna say Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks, who his whole thing coming into his career, like I could throw really hard. I could throw the ball 104 miles an hour, but he was so inconsistent as a relief pitcher. And now that I think it's the Giants, they're trying to convert him into a starting pitcher, as you may or may not know. And they said that in his last start, he was averaging 95 miles an hour. And they asked the panel, is this a concern to you that when he was starting last year or 2 years ago, his average velocity on his fastball was 98, but now he's in 95? And I'm thinking before they could even answer, it goes, bro, if him throwing 95 means he's giving up no hits and still gaining a lot of strikeouts, sign me up. I don't care that it's spring training. Sign me up right now. So, but unfortunately, I think a lot of people know about him at this point, and the secret's out. But that's an example of how to gauge these spring training games. I'm not saying that you should be paying attention because I'm not. But every once in a while, I look at certain things like Dalton Varsho, for example. I know he struggled with the things that I said that he struggled with, making contact and striking out too much. Well, he's keeping control of that this year. And and there's something to be said about that, right? Like there's improvements happening. So that's all I'm saying. And that's why I bring up the spring training games, especially because they're available the stats are available online. You can look at. I'm looking them up on Fangraphs. But anyway, we're almost done here. I promise. He says, Johnny. At least he gives me a compliment. He says that. Oh, actually, yeah. Johnny is giving me a compliment that the Marcel Ozuna pick might be a really good one. But of course, his buddy
Yeah,
Robert says, I
if
think
he doesn't get
Ozuna's.
arrested again.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, Robert says, oh, I think Ozuna is done. But I mean, you saw my lineup. I think Hassan Kim will be my second baseman. Isaac Paredes at third base. Dalton Varsho in center field. Just in case I need a utility player, I got Marcelo Zuna to be in my pseudo DH spot there. So we'll see if he can do what he did for me last year in the category leagues that I was in and win me a championship in this league. I say Kikuchi, but you say Kakachi. What do you think of this pick?
I think he's one of those guys that could just be solid for you. I mean, it's really hard to judge these super late like starting pitching picks. But if I had to pick, I absolutely would. I would avoid Miles Michaelis like the plague. I cannot stand him. I hate him in fantasy. I don't think he's good. Uh, he really got exposed over the last couple of years after he had that like one good year. Like I don't like him at all. I would rather him sit on the waiver wire than pick him ever.
Yeah, I think I would go with Kikuchi over Andrew Abbott. Andrew Abbott was the other pitcher that was selected in the second half of this round 16. Kikuchi, Abbott, or Mikolas, I think. I know people love Andrew Abbott, but he's lacking something. My daughter knocks on the door. That must be bedtime. But I think I would go with Kikuchi here. So yeah, I agree with you on the Mikolas pick as well. I like the. I know I'm always bashing Melvin, but I will give him props for the Bo Naylor pick. But I think that might have given him two catchers. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he had already picked the catcher. Why he picks Bo Naylor, I don't know. You only need one catcher in this league, I think. Last round, Seth Lugo, yes. Ranger Suarez, yes. Eloy Jimenez on the auto pick, maybe. Taj Bradley, this late, I will give it to him. Ty France, that's a boring pick. Jackson Merrill going to Juan's team in a keeper league like this, I approve. And my guy, Christopher Sanchez, I get him in all my leagues. I'm in love with the guy. The Phillies are actually encouraging him to throw harder now that he has shown that he can control his pitches. I'm all in on the Christopher Sanchez. You know what the best part about Christopher Sanchez is? He won me two championships last year. Huh?
Nice.
Huh? So that covers the first half. What do you think of these other picks? Who do you like here in the latter stages of this round 17 here?
I feel like for last pick in the draft, Adam Duvall is just that guy. Like he plays like every outfield position. Like he could slot in anywhere in an injury, and he might just hit 4 home runs in a week or something. So like, I think it's a pretty good pick. I absolutely hate Chris Paddock with all of my being, though. Even more than Miles Michaelis, especially now that he's going to be a relief pitcher. So I can't say anything about that pick. But
Oh, I thought he made the rotation. He's gonna be the reliever.
did he make the rotation? I don't know. I thought he
Uh,
was. I thought he was in the
because
bullpen still.
I've been checking on that, and it seems like the roster resource for Twins always has Paddock in there. But I also see Louis Varland also have a shot at the rotation, and Varland out was did pretty well last year in spurts, especially if you were in desperate need for pitching last season. I'm it's loading on the other screen, but in the mean, oh, here we go, we got it, we got it. Okay, your Twins rotation: Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Chris Haddock at number four, and your SP5, Louis Varland. So there
Okay.
you go. And they got a lot of injuries too, mostly to their bullpen, so they're in deep trouble. I can see why people don't like the Twins. But Adam Duvall being there, so you were very high on Jarred Kelenic. You're not worried that Duvall is going to steal at bats from Jarred Kelenic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm not. I wouldn't pick up Jared Kelenic as your starting left fielder or right fielder or center fielder. I wouldn't pick him up as a start at all. I think he's one of those guys like, you put him in the reserves, he might be something, he might not. Maybe you drop him in a month, but like, you know, going to Atlanta, playing the Mets all the time, like, past prospect. I feel like that's just the kind of place he's gonna thrive. And
Hmm.
Adam Duvall is probably gonna get most of the at bats. But I think I only see Kellenic as like that reach that like might really just come to be something. But you never know. You could always just drop him.
Uh, the
Duvall is
e
safe.
Yeah, the Ethan Salas is an interesting pick because you know how I feel about catching prospects, but lately these catching prospects have really blown me away with how good they can be. Your Yanier Diaz's, Ivan Herrera's, Gabriel Moreno's, Adley Rushman's of the world. So Ethan Salas might be the next, the leader of the next batch of catching prospects of the future. So that's a very interesting strategy there by Carey. I like this one of the rare picks from Melbourne that I actually enjoy. Edouard Julien from the Minnesota Twins. The reason that there's no Luis Arias or Jorge Polanco on the Twins anymore is because they've been trying to free up space for Edouard Julien, and that's really the best part of having him around is I get to say his name like that. And that's the draft. That is 17 rounds. I mean, I also made a roster page, and of course, my computer goes haywire. They're asking me what CBS gave me as a grade. I told you that the bot um, talks when you're not looking, and of course, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. But I think they gave me a B, B for boy. Ah,
Would
there it
it would
is.
have given you an S or an A plus if you got Yandy Diaz.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, here, let me show you. Yeah, I hope CBS doesn't come back and say, "Hey, that's a copyright infringement or a copyright violation." But they love my Eflin, my Ha Kim, and my Xander Bogaerts pick. But obviously, the fact that where'd it go? Uh, ah, You had the fifth easiest path through the draft. I don't know what that means. You had the chance to pick players like Yandy Diaz, Joshua Lowe, and Edouard Julien at points in the draft where our projections suggested they shouldn't have lasted. And let's see. Oh, they trashed Melvin for the
Yeah, the
Jose
Jose
Abreu pick.
Abreu. Yeah.
This is a
Uh,
serious reach. Like it's not just a reach, a serious reach. Your best pickup of the draft, Felipe, was Zach Eflin, who we thought should have been selected around the 23rd pick, but you got him with pick number 48. It's called skill there, young James.
and they call
However,
Bryce Miller a dud.
they're wrong. They're completely wrong. Bryce Miller comes with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball, so they can eat a fat one. But it's a keeper league. That's the other thing they don't recognize. It's a keeper league. If I don't get him, someone else will, right? So yeah, and then they're making a big stink about, hey, you get to face the guy who drafted Yandy Diaz first, and he's gonna make you pay for not picking him. Like, no, I got Tristan Cassis, I'll be fine. But there's Johnny, of course, not a surprise that he got an A plus, and the only team to be projected to score more than 300 points. When you have like 20 picks in the first 5 rounds, you should be able to be that high. Primo gets a B plus. He always does well in these things. Balls out. That's Mike Seam. That's the Angels fan that you were asking about. You were wondering if he was a Dodgers fan. No, he's an Angels fan. He got a C plus. Oh, I got a solid B for B, to be or not to be. C plus for my friend Carrie. D plus for Juan. I mean, when your first pick is in the fifth round, you're gonna suffer. The auto pick. Uh, CVS gave Austin a C, even though CVS Autobot was the one who picked all the picks for him. I don't get it. Tim, though, also on the Autobot, got a B. Shane, the reigning champion, got a B minus. Melvin got a D plus, of course. Not surprised there. The commissioner got a C plus for being a really good commissioner. C is for commissioner. Finally, the guy from Houston got a C minus, and also the lowest amount of points. So there you have it, man. What else they got for? Oh, okay. So here's the other thing that they got. They differentiate between hitters and pitchers. I got an A plus for my hitters and a B plus for pitchers. I disagree. I thought my pitching is pretty damn good. I would flip flop those grades, but I got an A plus in something, right? Where did Johnny go? Because I guess he's the competition. He got a B for his hitters and then a solid A for the pitchers. So in points leagues, as Scott White of the CBS podcast would say, pitching is king because those wins, they do add up. James, any questions, last words? Does this make you want to do a points league next year? What are your thoughts on this league so far?
I think I'll stick with my categories, but points is very interesting for a future fantasy league that I might play in. But I definitely like my categories.
I've been thinking of starting a second points league just to see if I'm still good at it because this league has been a very humbling experience. Before I joined this league, I was killing it, and I was a teenager thinking I was hot shit, and I was killing it in every points league I was ever in. And then I get with these guys, and I recruited most of these guys, like just a teenager, just going up to these random 30-year-old, 40-year-old, crusty old men, like, "Hey, you want to play in our league next year? It's only $22 or whatever the price was." And yeah, guys like Robert, Johnny, and Primo, they all knew me as a pup, and now I'm a 40-year-old dad. When they were 40-year-old dads when they first met me, it's just mind-boggling. But yeah, this league, as I told my friend Carey, Steve Carey, this has become my white whale. But you know what, James? We all have a white whale. Well, who's your white whale?
I don't even know.
Well, the answer is me, man. I'm your white whale. I get in your way in the baseball life league, man.
True. Good point. Your record also has to be tied with me now, even though I should have won.
I shattered it last year, man. There's a new king. And I
Yeah.
won the championship because
Yeah.
I knew it didn't win a thing without that ring. So no, I feel good about myself. But yeah, but that's okay. I respect your capabilities. I'm sure you'll do very well in our baseball life league. With that being said, any last words from you, James? You are my guest on this podcast. I thank you so much for being a last minute replacement and humoring me a little bit while we talk about a league that you're not a part of. But any last words from you about the upcoming
Not
baseball season or anything? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
not much, but just good luck to everyone, and hope you all the best in your league. And parting thoughts, Jared Kelenic is gonna crush the Mets this year. That's about it. I already know.
All right, final thoughts from me. Tristan Cass is gonna make all you suckers pay for insulting him in this draft. How dare you? How dare you? Anyway, I'd like to thank Robert, Johnny, Melvin for appearing on the chat. I'm sure that I'm gonna hear from the other people because I was too critical of their picks, but I do thank you guys in this league for showing that you have interest in me doing this. As long as you guys show interest, I will keep doing this for you guys. I don't have to do it. I could have done James. I could have done a preview show instead tonight because the season starts tomorrow. But I decided to do this because these are guys that mean a lot to me. I grew up with these guys, and this league, as much as it drives me crazy, I can't get enough of it. I helped create it. So, but one day I am gonna win this goddamn champion if it kills me. It has to come. Like, there's no way I question myself. There's no way I'm this bad, but I'm not. I know these are the same guys who will compliment. Oh man, Felipe drafted a really good team, and then that really good team goes like 9-13 for the season or some crap like that, and it pisses me off. But one day, right, I will have my day in the sun. You'll see, and I'll tell you all about it too. Anyway, that's my last spiel for the night. James, thank you so much. That is James. I am Felipe.